The cheers, the shouts, the love of these fans, these are the rewards for victory. The Philadelphia Adams Professional Soccer Club returned to such cheers on Sunday, August 26th, 1973. To get there, they first had to write a new chapter in the history of American sports. The Philadelphia Adams were a fledgling franchise in 1973, born into the ranks of the North American Soccer League at a time when no professional soccer team in the United States could claim any real notoriety. That was a situation they alone would change in 1973. This soccer team would run with Americans, where mostly Europeans and Latin Americans had tread. This soccer team had the only American coach in the league, Al Miller, recruited from Hartwick College in upstate New York. And these are some of the Americans on Miller's team. Bob Rigby of Delaware County, Pennsylvania. Bob Smith of Trenton, New Jersey. Barry Bartow of Philadelphia. Lou Meal of Philadelphia. Stanley Startzel of Levittown. And there are others as well. Could they meet the challenge of professional soccer? And could they make Americans love the sport as much as they did? To help them accomplish those goals, the Adams management brought over several seasoned professionals from the English Soccer League. Scoring stars like Andy Provan, the Adams number 10, and Jim Fryatt, number 9. Number 5, Chris Dunleavy, who, like Fryatt and Provan, plays with the Southport team. Filling out the defensive lineup are Roy Evans, number 4, from Liverpool, the champions of England's top professional league. And Englishman Derek Trevis, wearing number 18, became the Adams captain. Trevis is an unusual man. He has combined experience and knowledge with a unique sense of humor to provide the leadership that is required to captain the Adams team. And in moments of stress, it is Trevis who is heard above the rest on the field. Derek prefers not to describe his on-field banter as orders. They are, by his own description, suggestions, merely an extension of the voice of the coach, Al Miller. Trevis, named to the North American Soccer League All-Star team, talks about what he must do on his side of the touchline.
I'm sort of the liaison between the coach on the bench and the players in the team. He can only go so far. He can only get us out there to play. When we cross that byline, that touchline, and we're on there, he does nothing. He can shout instructions to a certain extent, but he's not on there. Therefore, I have to be the sort of the liaison on the field. I am the coach on the field. Orders come through me.
Communication on the field isn't only by voice. Players signal each other with the nod of a head, an uplifted hand, an appropriate glance, anything to serve the purpose. The Adams communicate so well that to the observer it appears that in the moment before the ball travels between two players, a telepathic spark first travels the same path. It was a display of teamwork that completely baffled the Finn Harps of Ireland, who expected barely a squeak from their American opponents, and who were shut out instead. Even the defending champion New York Cosmos were dazzled by the Adams' ability to keep control of the ball. Back four, the Adams defense are Trevis, Dunleavy, Evans, and American Bob Smith. All of them 1973 All-Stars. But the last defender in soccer is always the goalkeeper. Bob Rigby will do just about anything to stop a ball from getting into the net. The rookie's record at preventing his opponent's goal shots from reaching their destination was the greatest in the history of the North American Soccer League. 0.062%. Scarcely one goal every other game.
It's a one-shot deal. You can't make mistakes in the goal. A mistake is a goal. So therefore, it's a percentage thing. The most important thing is consistency.
Rigby is skilled beyond his years, and his daring saves have inspired tremendous confidence in his teammates and earned all-star recognition from his opponents.
Tremendous pair of hands. The other keepers here we find save balls, they can dive out and save them, but they sometimes don't stick, whereas Bob goes for them and they stick. If they stick, you've got a lot of confidence. If the ball's going over your head and you think you may be able to get it, you know damn well if Rigby says my ball to one or two of us, you let it go and you know it's going to stick in those great big hands of his. I'm most impressed with Bob. He wants to learn, which is a great thing. He doesn't think he knows everything, and that's good.
In his own view, Bob Rigby is just an American school kid, unpretentious and unassuming. He doesn't look up when young girls seated behind the goal shout for his autograph. And he isn't fazed by young soccer players who emulate everything from his style to his stylish haircut.
Really, if you'd asked me a year ago if I had any idea that I'd be sitting here, overlooking Veterans Stadium, I would have just called you the craziest guy in the world. So things have just happened too fast. I just think this is fantastic. It's just the fact that I'm on the team and knowing the team members and meeting the British players, and it's just been all too much, and the fans and the young kids on top of it. We just haven't got everything into place yet.
In mid-season, Rigby was handed the first major disappointment of his career in pro soccer. A teaching session for young boys turned into a disaster when the Adams star goalkeeper twisted his knee, tearing some ligaments.
All right, Andy.
He was left limping and on the sidelines for 4 weeks. In his place, sub-goalkeeper Norm Wingert, another mature American, guarded the nets. Adams' general manager, Bob Ellinger, feels Wingert is the forgotten hero of the team. It was not easy stepping into Rigby's shoes. It took courage and skill. Wingert's first encounter with professional opponents was against the tough players of Mexico's Veracruz team.
Anywhere between...
Afterwards, Coach Al Miller commented to reporters on Wingert's performance.
I think a young fellow did a good job tonight. If he plays like that, it can't hurt us. If he gets himself prepared mentally, and he can do the job. He has tremendous reflexes. He did it for me in the national... that's him right there, going right there. Did it for me in the national tournament. Came on when my first goalkeeper got injured. Came out and played a blinder. He made 2 brilliant saves tonight. I'll tell you, one was a definite goal. The one he pushed wide was a definite goal.
Wingert would remember that game as his trial by fire, but he was soon able to talk about it easily with his teammates.
I didn't think he was a dirty player, though. The big dude, number 9, right? Yeah, but I think he couldn't help it because he was running in, right? I think they're coming up from Latin America. They want to put on a good show, instead of that kind of stuff.
Wingert's trial against tough opposition would be matched by the personal battle Bob Rigby had to face getting back on the field. When he returned, Rigby's confidence was shaken, and he favored the still painful knee, learning to fall on it despite the injury. It was a process watched carefully by his teammates, among them North American Soccer League All-Star Chris Dunleavy.
We've watched him from the time that he damaged his knee until now that he's fit, well, almost fit. He goes out with his strap from the middle of his calf to the middle of his thigh, and that lad must definitely be in pain, because you can see he was limping very badly after he'd first done it. Now he's limping slightly, but he's limping and keeping the pain to himself.
Adams coach Al Miller describes this quality of courage as a measure of the team's desire to succeed.
Well, I think we have the cream of the crop, really. We have boys with tremendous heart and tremendous courage and a lot of willpower to make it in this league and make it as soccer players. They've kicked around the sandlots. They've dressed in all kinds of situations, a dressing room, they call dressing room. All of them just incredible incredibly keen about the game. They want to succeed so badly, and our American athletes, in my opinion, are the best in the world. And unfortunately, I've not had the experience and not had the background when they were young. But I would say we're really quite fortunate in the boys we have. I think they're holding their own, and I'm sure that they've impressed every professional from every country we've played against.
Bob Smith is surely among the cream of the crop, as Miller puts it. Smith has been playing soccer in Trenton, New Jersey since he was 8 years old. And today he must be considered one of the top American defenders in the league. Like so many of his teammates, another NASL all-star player. Smith has, according to his teammates, developed tremendously this season. But Bob Smith is quite modest about his own ability.
I get beat a couple times here and there, and I make a lot of mistakes, but after the game, I look at those mistakes in my mind. I think, now what did I do wrong? And these mistakes are only mistakes that'll be corrected through experience. A more experienced ball player would do differently. I didn't get many chances at that ball. The ones I got, I was going to make sure I got the ball, you know. I wasn't concerned about where I put it after I got it. The balls I got out, you know, they said, oh, good save and everything, but I'd just kick them, and they'd go anywhere. Now, a good ball player he'd have the ball won, and he'd see that. So he'd control it and do something constructive with it. All right, so right now I'm in a stage, if I can get to that ball, I'm satisfied with that, and I just get it out of our defense.
Both his teammates and his coach say Smitty, as they called him, underrates himself. When the Adams played the Miami Toros in the late season showdown for the Eastern Division title, Smith was given one of the toughest jobs in the game. His assignment was to guard the league's leading scorer, and ultimately its 1973 most valuable player, Miami's Warren Archibald. He did it well. Playing defender is a switch for Smith, who played forward in college. Now and then he goes on the attack, something any defender can do in soccer, given the opportunity. The effort is discouraging to Smitty, who feels he desperately needs more experience. Later in 1973, he gets it, playing on the United States national team, representing America in international competition. But while he's playing for the Adams, it is his teammates who provide all the experience he needs. He relies heavily on their advice.
When you're out on the field, and you don't hear your coach telling you, you hear your teammates, you know, and that's what I rely on 100% when I'm out there, is people like Chris and Derek and Jimmy Fried, guys like this telling me, you know, what's going on, you know, because I need that, because I'm inexperienced in that position, and if they don't tell me, I'm lost. I'll tell you the truth.
It is not by accident that the American and English players work so well together. It is because they become more than just teammates. That was a conscious plan on the part of the Adams ownership and management. A strong advocate of a policy that would combine seasoned English players with willing Americans was General Manager Bob Ellinger. Ellinger is an intense man who plans his decisions for the Philadelphia Adams as he would the moves on a chessboard. The ultimate effect of every decision is evaluated beforehand. And so it was with the plan to have the Adams American players train in England for 2 weeks with the men who would soon play side by side with them in the States. The decision had obviously successful results, according to Ellinger.
Our English and our Americans blended together very, very smoothly. Young lads like Bobby Rigby and Bob Smith, who had a great deal of skill, but it had to be honed and improved, just matured and grew greatly next to Derek Trevis and Chris Dunleavy and the other fellows in the back defense. But even more than on the field, off the field too, they lived together, they got along very, very well. It created a togetherness which enabled us to hang together on the field right on down the line to the last minute in Dallas.
The prime English players, the most valuable members of the team in terms of scoring ability, were Andy Proven and Jim Friett. Proven's number 10 and his nickname, The Flea, a reflection of his 5'5" size, became perhaps the most familiar picture of Adams soccer to Philadelphia fans. It was Proven who scored more goals than any other single player, and with Friett right behind him in scoring, the duo from Southport, England represented a mighty offense. Proven was, in fact, runner-up for the North American Soccer League's Most Valuable Player Award. And Friett was third in the voting. Friett was also his teammates' choice as Adams' MVP. Both were league all-star selections. What brought these men such honors is the way they moved on the field on offense. Not always scoring, but always probing for that weak point in the opponent's defense. Proven, in his Scottish accent, explains how they do it.
The big lads are always trying to take the ball on the floor to them, to beat them, you know, on the floor. And Jimmy Fryett's seeking them out in the air. If they're weak in the air, we play to Jim. If they're weak on the floor, they play to me. I think this is the only way to do it. You just seek out their weaknesses, you play to your own assets, and everything falls into place.
But for all of Andy Proven's scores, and for all Jim Fryett's goals, there are a dozen frustrations. Those attacks on the goal that fail. These are moments that build the crowd to heights of tension, but the climactic moment of the play is generally not inside the nets. The frustration of a missed goal, the chained anger in the moment after an opposing player commits a foul. This is the stuff from which soccer experience is built, even for a veteran of 15 years in the pro leagues like Jimmy Fryatt.
I've played so long now that whereas when I was 18, 20, I used to argue with referees, get cautions, get sulky, jack the game in. I don't know. I just say, well, the referee's given the decision, get on, play the game. Next time it might come my way, and that's it. And when you're a striker, you're in the thick of things all the time, and you can't afford to get too much involved with other people's problems, really, because you've got a lot of problems of your own up there when people are trying to kick you. And it sounds harsh that way, but there is a lot of physical contact if you're going to be a striker, and you've got to be able to take it and just shrug it off and go back again. But I say, with experience, you say, well, that's gone. But next minute it might come again, it's in the back of the net and you're a hero again.
Fryett's strongest point on offense is his uncanny ability to direct the ball just about anywhere with his head. He can head the ball toward a friendly teammate or directly into the opponent's goal. Heading the ball is his principal art. His age, he was 33 at the end of the 1973 season, has not hindered his stamina or ability. It has given him the mellowness to avoid fights and fouls, and even to break up a squabble or two like this one during a game with Veracruz of Mexico. The referee never saw the exchange of blows, and Fryatt stopped it before anything serious developed. During the 1973 season, Jim Fryatt scored 7 goals for the Adams and had 65 shots on the goal. His cohort in offense, Andy Proven, scored 11 goals and fired the same number of attempts. Together, their striking ability accounted for 62% of the Adams' total number of goals scored in 1973. Coach Al Miller well recognizes their value.
Mainly our offense relies on Fryatt and Proven. These fellows are professionals. They know where their weaknesses are. Once the game begins, they know how to study defenses. They know what to do, and this is what I'm saying. A coach doesn't really do that much. My job, I feel, is to get these fellows sharp physically and also to get them sharp mentally. If they're going out there to play to win and they're fit to go 90 minutes at top speed against the best players in the league, I think then my job is done, and the rest of it is up to them, and I think they're capable of accepting its responsibility.
Though Miller cannot step onto the field during play, he does his best to motivate from the sidelines. His comments are crisp and clear, and it's not just idle banter, but rather an intense effort to maintain momentum on the field. It is part of the style that earned him the title of North American Soccer League Coach of the Year, the first American and the first rookie coach ever to win that title.
Come on, lads, let's show up something now. Come on, come on. Come on, Blue, do it. Stick up. On you. Well done, Roy. Come on, let's keep playing here, lads. Come on.
Miller's Miller's use of the term lads to address his players has more than just a casual meaning. Between this man, Al Miller, and these young men on the field, there is a real affection. They have worked hard together. They have struggled to bring the Adams from zero to the top. They are not just the men or the boys or the team. They are his lads. And when one of them gets hurt, Al Miller is up on his feet in anger. Barry Bartow, an all-star American player for the Adams and one-time captain of the U.S. national team, has been hurt. An opposing player from Veracruz caught Bartow on the chin with an elbow. He's bleeding and shaking. Miller joins players and Dr. Joe Torg, team physician, on the field. Only for the time it takes for Bartow to be removed from the field is play suspended. It resumes without him. The Veracruz team is very physical. There is a language barrier, and the usual techniques of psyching out opponents aren't working on either side. Expression becomes physical. Andy Proven is another player injured in the Veracruz melee. But after a check by the team trainer, he's up again, much to the delight of the Philadelphia crowd. And true to his reputation, Proven returns to haunt his opponents, scoring the only goal of the game as a fluke pass taps in off his toes. Proven falls to his knees in mock thanks for his good fortune. The now familiar shotgun blast that marks Adams' goals this time marks an Adams victory.
No problems out there tonight, man. No problems.
In the locker room at Veteran Stadium, the tone of the victors is subdued. There is pain and injury. This was a difficult victory.
That's clever, isn't it? Barry's got 3 stitches up his guts.
It was a very physical game. I think one of the most physical matches we've played so far.
Coach Miller talks to reporters who flock around him.
He tried to slow the game down a little bit.
That's their style. This is South American, Latin style, because they're playing in this heat all the time. So they conserve their energy by just walking and pushing the ball easy.
Affect your game,
They just overload on you. Oh, it affected us. They took possession away from us. We didn't have nearly as many goal chances tonight as we had in the rest of the games. I tell you, this is a good team.
Team owner Tom McCluskey makes his regular visit to the locker room to congratulate the victors. He is totally involved in his team to the point where he and his players are able to share the delight of victory and the pain of loss with equal feeling. If nothing else, Tom McCluskey, his general manager, Bob Ellinger, and Coach Al Miller, along with these young men, have brought class to the Philadelphia sports scene. There is such skill involved in the soccer game that at times it can be properly termed an athletic art. It is the use of this art in sport that has turned thousands of Philadelphians into soccer addicts. crowds have reacted to soccer in Philadelphia with tremendous enthusiasm. In 1973, the Philadelphia Atoms outgrew every other team in the North American Soccer League, and this was Philadelphia's first year. At the home opener, there were nearly 22,000 in attendance, a new league record for a single game. And games throughout the season saw crowds close to that figure. When a Philadelphia crowd is behind you, you know it.
I don't normally hear crowds, but I had to hear them tonight, and their enthusiasm and support has just been phenomenal for a first-year club. I'm glad I'm in Philadelphia.
At times, the ball seems to head straight for the net. Just on the lift it gets from the fans. They try to push the ball in with their vocal encouragement. Encouragement that inspired 9 Atoms to North American Soccer League All-Star selections. An enthusiastic crowd can give a player a second wind. It is an added boost for players who must run throughout the 45-minute half of soccer play. There is no stopping here, no moment to cool off. But crowds alone cannot sustain that drive. What a player eats is as important as his desire to win. And for the Atoms, protein is the answer. This is the training table dinner on the night the Philadelphia Atoms played the Toronto Metros in the 1973 semifinal playoff game. The Atoms would run onto the field, fortified by the thickest steak available in the midst of an American beef shortage.
Brookshire is really into the soccer scene right now. We're going to make this.
The players talk of other things besides the upcoming contest, though it begins in less than 4 hours. They're all, on the surface at least, at ease. This night, though, there is an underlying tension. It is seen most visibly in the faces and hushed tones of the Atoms management. Al Miller seems preoccupied. Of the players, Jim Fryatt is obviously tense. Andy Proven puts on an air of gaiety, but he too is concerned. Though the others are not yet aware of it, Fryatt and Proven are the subject of intense negotiations being conducted as the team has dinner. By telephone, not far from the training table meal, Al Miller and the rest of the team management are trying to prevent what could be a disaster. The Southport club from which Fryatt and Proven are on loan wants them back immediately. The English soccer season is to start a week ahead of time, and Fryatt and Proven may have to leave the night after the Toronto playoff. That would mean the Atoms might have to fight for the North American Soccer League 1973 championship without their 2 top scorers. After all, it was tough enough winning this baby, the Eastern Division Championship trophy. The night of the Toronto playoff, North American Soccer League Commissioner Phil Woosnam presented the award to team captain Derek Trevis. Trevis's smile gave evidence to the team's overwhelming sense of accomplishment at having gone this far in their very first season. But there are hills to climb yet, and Toronto has looked like a mountain all season. They were the only team in the league the Atoms did not defeat in regular play. As action begins, Al Miller and Derek Trevis remember how all season long they had their collective eye on the Metros.
I still feel Toronto is the best club we've played against. They've been great against us. They come at us. They've not laid back on defense. They're tight in the back. They have a good goalkeeper. Their midfield is excellent. The last time we played them up there, I thought we were really lucky to get out with a draw.
Toronto, I think, are the best team in the league. From our point of view, from the defensive point of view, you know, some teams sort of push us hard, they throw balls at us, you know, but, you know, they might put pressure on us, but it's not the pressure that, you know, we can't withstand.
Derek's own ability as a defender and that of his teammates was surely put to the test that night. Toronto fought hard. Then Andy Proven started the Atoms' upward momentum with one of his classic goals. The score added pep to the offense, and probe after probe brought the crowds to its feet. Then on just such an offensive sortie, Jim Fryatt was fouled. Bryant was tripped up inside the penalty area around the goal, and that called for an automatic penalty kick. There are no teammates to pass to now. No tricks, just one man. Jim Fryatt against one man, the Toronto goalkeeper. Fryatt's years of experience told him just what corner, what niche within the goal to aim his kick for. He tried to sense just how to bypass the expected goalkeeper's diving attempt to save the ball. As the ball sailed into the Toronto goal, Philadelphia began its trip to the championship right then and there. As for the final goal of the game, Stanley Startzel passes it forward to Barry Bartow. Bartow in turn heads to Andy Proven. Proven passes it off to Paul Miner, who scores one more for Philadelphia. The Toronto playoff is the last game the Adams will play at home in '73. The crowd gives them a standing ovation lasting for several minutes. They sing Auld Lang Syne to the new team that has brought pride to Philadelphia sports. And in return, the thankful, ecstatic team turns to the crowd and thanks each fan for his and her support. But in the midst of all this celebration, there is one unsmiling face. It is Jim Fryatt. He knows this may have been his last game for the Adams this season. Once inside the locker room, with the realization that Dallas is the only team left to beat before the Adams win the North American Soccer League Championship for 1973, there is much celebration. Coke is used in place of champagne in anticipation of Dallas's defeat. But Proven and Fryatt are not part of the celebration. Neither man has the heart to speculate about his future, not for tomorrow, no less the coming week's game. At this point, there's just the slightest chance they may be able to play against Dallas August 25th at Texas Stadium. Little enough to pin one's hope on. The players, still unaware of the Proven-Fryatt problem, can still quip with Tom McCluskey about the victory. The Toronto victory is an important one. Toronto is an established team. Their president, Bruce Thomas, congratulates the Adams manager.
Tom, next year is coming. We'll be there for you. As a matter of fact, I hope you don't get used to winning.
Well, I think I want to get used to it. I like it. It's so great.
I really congratulate you. You did a fine job.
Your whole team are sportsmen, and I think they gave you everything they had, you know.
Al Miller has his own thoughts about why the Adams finished with such a smashing victory. He discusses them with reporters.
You know things are going for it because, my God, I don't know what it is. I haven't the foggiest idea. And the next two goals are absolute brilliance. I mean, that just comes from pressure. You can't, they had to come eventually. And Jimmy played real smart by taking the fella out the side where he's a bit lost. He's good in the middle. He took him outside and then he decided to go on him. I don't know why he took him down. He didn't have to take him down, really. I think he could have cut him off.
That was really physical. Is that the same type of game we played home Toronto when he got...
Three in a row. Jimmy's overcome him, too.
The early attention has left the faces of Tom McCluskey, Al Miller, and Bob Allen.
They didn't want the season to end.
They are hopeful of some solution to the Southport demand for Fryatt and Proven. And they are elated with the team's success against Toronto.
Sports fans are the greatest. They're the greatest.
What do we do for encore?
By 5 the next afternoon, the smiles were all erased. And so were any chances that Fryatt and Proven would play against Dallas. In less than 24 hours after the Toronto game ended, both men were on their way home to Southport, England. So there was nothing left to do but go on to Dallas. And on the morning of August 25th, the team, minus some of its morale and 2 of its players, but with all of its courage and determination still intact, set off for the Texas Plains in the final battle of the year. Team captain Derek Travis's constant humor and smiling personality had a lot to do with softening the blow of the Friat-Proven loss. He seems to have infused his teammates with his own inward enthusiasm. As for Al Miller, his depression over the loss of his top scorers was short, but he could not get them out of his mind. Hoping against hope, he later admitted, he brought uniforms number 9 and 10, Friats and Provens, to Dallas with him. But Miller remembered his own thoughts after the very first game of the season against St. Louis, when Friat couldn't play because of an injury.
After we played out at St. Louis without Friat and lost to them on a fluke goal, I thought we were going to win it. I really did. A lot of these players have been captains for their teams. Our college boys have been captains. These fellas don't get there by a popularity contest. They get there because of leadership ability.
Miller's strategy in the Dallas championship game put two virtual unknowns in place of Friat and Proven. Charlie Ducilli, a forward who had scored only a single goal all season, and Billy Straub, acquired from Montreal only 6 hours before the league's trading deadline, some weeks early. Straub had never played a minute's worth of pro ball at the Adams, no less a championship. The duel between the two soccer playoff winners attracted Dallas's largest season crowd to Texas Stadium. The Adams, lacking normal scoring power, fighting 100-degree-plus heat, and facing a fiercely pro-Dallas crowd, obviously had an uphill fight. Dallas's top offensive player, Kyle Rote Jr., was the man for the Adams to watch out for. And Chris Dunleavy was the man watching Rote more closely than anyone. Dunleavy's constant guard earned him an injury early in the game that, had it been more serious, might have changed the entire picture. But fortunately, the young defender was on his feet in a few minutes. The burden of defense was well shared by Travis and Roy Evans and Bob Smith. As for Bob Rigby, he never let a ball go by. Some of that may have been because the Philadelphia offense was keeping the ball at Dallas's end of the field most of the time. Though during the scoreless first half of the game, the ball moved back and forth, never reaching anyone's net. The lack of scoring only served to increase the tension the Adams felt. It was for the team's management no less difficult at times. A television interview for the folks back home, while the outcome remained uncertain, seemed almost inappropriate at halftime. As the second half began, the Adams seemed more determined to press the attack. It must have been abundantly clear to Dallas's goalkeeper, Ken Cooper, that his own defense was beginning to buckle. Then, in one strong attack on the Dallas goal, 20 minutes into the second half, the Adams broke through the Tornado defense. A Roy Evans pass was deflected toward Dallas all-star defender and captain John Best. Best, surrounded by Adams, tried to kick the ball away from his own goal, but instead knocked it right in, scoring for Philadelphia. Dallas rallied for a while and brought the still uncertain game back to the Adams defense. A Dallas kick sent Bob Rigby diving for the ball. He deflected it with his hand, forcing it to bounce off the outside of the goal, denying Dallas their nearest attempt at a goal in the entire game. And seconds later, Rigby made still another spectacular save. Finally, with only 4 minutes left to play, the Adams were on the offense again. Another beautifully placed Roy Evans kick was the setup, this time for Billy Straub, who headed the ball right into the net to make it 2-0. Straub would later say exhaustion nearly overcame him. He was fighting the Dallas Heat all through the game. It was, he said, Derek Travis's constant on-field encouragement that kept him running for his fateful meeting with a soccer ball in front of the Dallas goal. The Dallas defense had withered, and the extraordinarily well-conditioned Philadelphia team didn't let up. Even in the last minute of play, Philadelphia midfielder George O'Neill pushed the ball toward the Dallas goal in hopes of another score before the clock ran out. He never got the chance to try, for when the clock did run out, the Philadelphia Atoms became the very first expansion team in the history of American sports to win a Major League Pro Championship. They did it in just 229 days from the date Tom McCluskey was awarded the Philadelphia franchise that became the Atoms.
We're done. We're done. We're done. Sunshine. How about it? So about it, you bastard.
For every player, for the coach, and for the management, this moment in Dallas proved 1973 the year of America.
I don't like the taste of it. It's just good for celebrating. Yes, sir. Hey, it's 13 men. There's a little bit of Jimmy and Andy there tonight.
Oh, great, son. Great, son.
Great, man. Good job. You know, everybody's blown up. Well, he's been blown up. Maybe out of proportion. Everybody's blown up. He scored all these goals. He's the rookie of the year. He's going to do this, that, and the other. The lad had so much pressure on him that maybe I think it got him down a bit. Because I think in the second half, I don't know whether it was his legs died or his heart died. One or the other. One of them died. His legs or heart.
What do you say now?
All the sport in it. Billy, congratulations.
But it was a miracle made by men. Men with vision enough, endurance enough, talent enough, and the guts to make it happen.